Welcome to Leading Beyond Limits, the podcast where we explore the extraordinary journeys and insights of remarkable leaders who have pushed the boundaries of what's possible. Your host, Angel Radcliffe, who is a digital transformation leader, author, speaker, and financial educator, will lead each episode and dive deep into the stories, strategies, and philosophies that have empowered these exceptional individuals to lead, inspire, and achieve beyond the ordinary. We're about to embark on a journey of discovery and inspiration, and together, we'll learn what it takes to lead beyond limits. So grab your cape, or at least your favorite coffee mug, because we're about to unravel the extraordinary tales of trailblazers who've turned impossible into I'm possible. Let's get started.
Imagine you hire the absolute best drivers in the world.
Okay.
You put them on this entirely empty, perfectly paved, multi-lane highway, and then you immediately build a toll booth.
Oh, wow.
Right? You force every single one of those elite drivers to stop every single mile just to hand you a coin.
That is incredibly frustrating just to picture.
It is. And I mean, you aren't directing traffic, you aren't making the journey safer, and you certainly aren't speeding things up.
No, definitely not.
You are just forcing everyone to acknowledge that, hey, you are still in charge of the road.
Yeah, you're making them prove you exist.
Exactly. And that dynamic, the incredible friction we introduce into our own organizations is what we are unpacking today.
It's such a pervasive issue.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're looking at a specific leadership micro scenario today. It's from this book called Leading Beyond Limits. And the scenario revolves around a premise that is literally just 5 words long.
Just 5 words.
Trust is the ultimate currency.
Trust is the ultimate currency.
Yeah, and it pairs that premise with a really sharp diagnosis, which is that micromanagement acts as a literal tax on speed.
A tax on speed. I love that phrasing.
It's so accurate, right? And our mission today is to dig into the psychological weight of those two ideas.
Right.
Because we are not going to give you, some step-by-step framework on how to delegate.
No checklists today.
No checklist. There's no tactical management advice or motivational cheerleading here.
Yeah, we're skipping all that.
The goal of this deep dive is to sit with the unacknowledged, often really uncomfortable tension of this scenario.
Because it is uncomfortable.
Very. We want to explore why you, as a leader, might hesitate to spend that currency of trust, what it actually feels like to make decisions when you only have incomplete clarity.
Which is almost always, by the way.
Exactly. And we'll look at the internal shift required to move from being this, organizational bottleneck to an instrument of actual scalability. So let's ground this tax on speed in a reality that I think most of us know way too well.
Please do.
The scenario draws this really stark line between high trust and low trust organizations. It argues that speed is the ultimate diagnostic tool for the internal state of a leader.
Because speed doesn't lie.
Right. In a high trust team, people move fast because they bypass the need for a signature on every single minor move.
Yeah, they just go.
But in a low trust environment, a totally capable team will suddenly just slow down to a crawl. You see this all the time in the corporate world.
Oh, constantly.
Like a senior engineering team is ready to deploy this crucial software patch, but they have to wait 3 weeks because a VP insists on personally reviewing the final documentation.
And if you ask that VP, they'll tell you they aren't trying to sabotage the timeline.
Right, they think they're helping.
They think they are doing their job. They reframe that need for control as a virtue.
Yeah, they call it diligence.
Exactly. They call it diligence. Or maintaining high standards, or staying close to details. But what the scenario points out is the fundamental difference between overseeing a process and bottlenecking it.
Bottlenecking disguised as oversight.
Yes. When you require a sign-off for an action, the team is already fully competent to handle.
Which they usually are.
Right. You aren't improving the quality of the work. You are just levying a tax. You are bleeding the speed out of the system day by day, email by email.
It's honestly just like setting up that toll booth on the empty highway I mentioned earlier.
It really is.
The team knows the destination. The road is clear. The cars are completely capable of driving the speed limit. Making them stop to hand over a metaphorical coin doesn't manage the traffic.
No, it just stops it.
It just reassures the person sitting inside the booth, the toll collector,
Yeah.
that they are still relevant, that they are still an essential part of the machinery.
And the danger there is that The toll collector genuinely believes they are performing a vital service.
They think they're the hero of the story.
They do. But the delay between a team member having the right solution and being, permitted to execute it, that delay grows longer with every unnecessary checkpoint.
And people notice that.
Oh, the culture completely changes. The team realizes the highway isn't actually meant for driving.
It's meant for waiting.
It's meant for waiting in line. The scenario uses this vivid phrase for this. It talks about a team being perpetually stuck in the waiting room for a final okay.
A waiting room. Man, that is an incredibly stagnant image.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it?
Just you just picture the flickering fluorescent lights, the outdated magazines on the little table just sitting there in suspended animation until someone finally calls your name.
The energy just drains out of the room.
Completely trapped.
Yeah.
But let me challenge this framing for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Because if I am the leader listening to this, if I'm the person who's ultimately responsible for the P&L.
The one whose neck is actually on the line.
Exactly. The one who has to answer to the board or the shareholders if things go totally sideways. Isn't keeping a team in the waiting room just like a responsible way of gathering all the facts? Like,
wow.
Shouldn't I seek total certainty before I give that final okay? Demanding the full picture before moving forward feels like fiduciary duty. It doesn't feel like a power trip.
And that is the most natural defense in the world.
Right. Because it sounds rational.
On paper, it sounds entirely rational. The problem is that it assumes total certainty is an achievable state. If we look really closely at the tension in this scenario, the delay in the waiting room is almost never about insufficient information.
It's not a lack of data.
No, it's not a data problem at all. It is an emotional problem.
Okay, say more about that.
In modern business, the puzzle is infinite. You are never, ever going to have all the pieces. The reality of incomplete certainty is simply the environment you operate in.
So wait, you're saying the leader isn't actually waiting for that final data point to arrive?
No.
They're waiting for the feeling of anxiety to pass.
Exactly. They are looking for a guarantee that just doesn't exist. Keeping the team in the waiting room is deeply rooted in this discomfort with risk and accountability.
Because they're exposed.
Very exposed.
Yeah.
Think about the emotional pressure of sitting in that seat. If you control every keystroke, every signature, every email, you manufacture this false sense of security.
You tell yourself, well, if this initiative fails, at least I was at the wheel.
Right. The vulnerability of being accountable for an outcome you did not manually execute, that is terrifying for a lot of people.
Because if you let the team drive and they crash the car, you are still the one who has to stand up and answer for the wreckage.
Which is exactly why demanding that final okay acts as a psychological shield.
A shield. That makes so much sense.
It is a way to delay stepping into the fog. Leadership decisions are almost always made with partial clarity, but as long as the team is just sitting in the waiting room, the decision technically hasn't been made yet.
The risk hasn't been taken?
And therefore, you cannot yet be judged for the outcome. The bottleneck isn't an operational flaw in the company's process. It is the leader's personal defense mechanism against vulnerability.
That reframes the entire concept of organizational speed.
It really shifts the blame, doesn't it?
It does. If the bottleneck is just an emotional defense mechanism, the cost of the leader protecting their own comfort is literally the scalability of the entire business.
It's a huge cost.
Let's connect this back to that opening premise from the scenario. That phrase, trust is the ultimate currency.
Right.
Think about the literal definition of currency. If you aren't spending it, it's just sitting under a mattress depreciating.
Yes. Inflation just eats away at it. You get zero return.
Right. So if trust is the currency, hoarding it means your organization's momentum is just inflating away.
That's a great way to put it.
Micromanaging and keeping people in the waiting room is the exact equivalent of stuffing all your operational cash inside a mattress.
Because it feels safe.
It feels incredibly secure because you know exactly where every single dollar is. You can lift the mattress, you can count the coins, and you feel in control.
But you are building absolutely no wealth.
Exactly.
Wow.
To actually get a return on currency to scale anything, you have to take the risk of investing it.
You have to put it to work.
You have to put it out into the wild where you do not have absolute manual control over what happens to it.
And that is the core mechanism of scalability that the scenario is pointing toward.
The leap of faith.
It notes that the exact moment you decide to trust your team is the moment your organization finally becomes scalable.
But I feel like we often misunderstand what that moment actually is.
We do. We treat scalability like it's a structural change.
Like buying new software.
Right. We think it means implementing a new project management tool,
Yeah.
or rewriting the whole org chart, or hiring more middle management to oversee things.
But it's not.
No. The scenario suggests scalability is actually an internal psychological shift within the leader.
It's the moment you pull the currency out from under the mattress.
Exactly. But like, how does that internal shift actually happen? Because it's one thing to recognize, oh, I'm hoarding trust. And it's another thing entirely to actually stomach the risk of spending it.
It requires a profound redefinition of who you are actually trusting.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we always frame delegation as a question of trusting others.
Like, do I trust my team?
Right. We ask, do I trust my team to execute this marketing campaign properly? Or do I trust this director to handle the client negotiation?
Sure, that's the standard way we think about it. But the hesitation usually doesn't stem from doubting their skills. The real unspoken question that's bottlenecking the process is, do I trust myself to handle the fallout if they get it wrong?
Oh, wow. That is a massive distinction.
It changes everything.
The barrier isn't a lack of faith in the team, it's a lack of faith in your own resilience.
Yes. And that realization is the foundation of moving forward responsibly.
So you have to trust yourself first.
You cannot scale an organization until you trust your own capacity to navigate failure.
Because failure is inevitable.
It is. Letting a team act without your final signature means embracing a really messy reality.
Yeah.
It requires the judgment and the presence to say, look, I am empowering you to make this decision. I am actively choosing not to review every single detail.
Which is terrifying.
Terrifying. But you have to say, if it goes sideways, if we lose the client or the launch fails, I trust my own capability to help us fix the problem and face the consequences.
That completely flips the traditional script on what strong leadership looks like.
It really challenges the stereotype.
Because the classic archetype of the strong executive is the person with all the answers.
A mastermind.
The one directing every single play from the sidelines, catching every error before it even happens. But this scenario suggests that the strongest leader is actually the one who can tolerate the immense discomfort of not knowing every detail.
The one who can tolerate the fog.
Yes, the one who can sit with the anxiety of partial clarity, resist the urge to jump in and intervene, and still allow the machine to run at full speed.
It is a quiet discipline.
It is.
And honestly, it is so much easier and so much more immediately validating to just be busy.
To feel important.
Yeah, it feels like real work to demand reports and scrutinize slide decks at 9 p.m. and hold endless review meetings in the waiting room.
Stepping back doesn't feel like work.
Stepping back feels unnatural. But true leadership, at least in the context we are discussing today, is often defined by restraint.
Just holding yourself back.
It is the discipline of staying out of the toll booth.
Yeah.
Even when your anxiety is just screaming at you to lower the barrier and collect a toll, just to prove you are still steering the ship.
So let's pull the threads of this scenario together.
Okay.
The core tension we've been exploring isn't about operational efficiency.
No,
And it's not about finding the perfect delegation framework.
definitely not.
The ultimate barrier to your organization's speed and scalability is not your team's capability. It's not the complexity of the market. The barrier is your own internal threshold for discomfort.
It's your relationship with anxiety.
Yes, it's your willingness to make decisions in the fog and accept accountability for actions that you didn't manually control.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, the invitation here is not to rush into action.
Right. Don't just go change a bunch of processes today.
Please don't immediately open your laptop and draft some new policy on decentralized decision-making.
Give it a minute.
Give it a minute. We want to leave you with a space for quiet reflection.
Yeah.
The scenario poses a really sharp diagnostic question, and it's one that requires absolute honesty to answer. Does your team feel truly empowered to act, or are they currently stuck in the waiting room for your final okay?
Picture that waiting room. Just think about the specific people sitting in it right now. The projects that are stalled, just waiting for your signature or your review. Are they waiting because they genuinely lack the skills to proceed?
Or
Or are they sitting there serving as a buffer against your own vulnerability? We talked earlier about that toll booth on the empty highway and how the toll collector just wants to feel in charge.
to feel relevant.
Right. So as you go about the rest of your day, we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Something to really think about.
If your organization's speed is ultimately dictated by your own personal comfort zone, are you actually leading the business forward, or are you just managing your own anxiety?
Thank you for tuning into another inspiring episode of Leading Beyond Limits. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to hear more from our incredible guests, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us. And if you have a remarkable leader in mind who you'd like to hear on our show or any questions and comments, feel free to reach out to us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Remember, leadership knows no bounds, and with the right insights and determination, you too can lead beyond limits. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars and leading with purpose.